This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the Sony Alpha NEX-5 interchangeable lens camera. Now this is an interesting new space. It started with the Olympus PEN series of cameras. It's a hybrid. It has the large sensor of a digital SLR and the interchangeable lens system, but there is no pentaprism up top, and it's a direct view, sort of like a point-and-shoot camera approach to design. That means you don't have an optical viewfinder, a piece of glass that you look through, but you'll use the LCD instead, or an optional electronic viewfinder accessory, which also cameras like the Olympus PEN offer. It's available with two lenses in kit. This is the 18 to 55 millimeter zoom, which looks quite large on the small body. Sony's body is currently the smallest of the interchangeable lens cameras, whose competitors include cameras made by Olympus for the PEN series, Samsung, and some others overseas. This flash is an interesting design right here. You can see from the back. It's a teeny little flash. It is included, unlike the Olympus PEN cameras, and you can carry it here. And it's got a fiddly little screw mount. This is an accessory lens port up here, and we'll take that off so you can see it. And you can put the optional electronic viewfinder up there, which is expensive with these cameras. It's $200. You can also add a stereo microphone. There's the port right there. But this does have built-in stereo mics, unlike most cameras that have mono mics built in, and it does a very good job when recording video. So, unlikely you're going to need that optional accessory. You have your USB port here, it's micro USB, HDMI port on this side. These are nice quality lens doors. This one's a little bit plasticky, but the camera's body is made of magnesium alloy and steel. Here you've got the tripod mount here, nice and solid. And you can see the lenses themselves, nice metal lenses. The other lens you can get this with is the Pancake Lens. That's a 16 millimeter lens. We've got the body cap on and the lens cap on right now. We'll put it on the camera in a minute so you can see it, but absolutely tiny. Now all of these interchangeable lens cameras offer a short 3x digital zoom like we just saw and a Pancake lens. So this is Sony's version. That lens. The camera obviously is a lot smaller when you're carrying this. It's a good street lens. It's a little bit wider angle than some people might be used to, though. We'd like to see something that was equivalent, say, to a 50 millimeter on film. Given the potentially long lens here, you can see that the mounts for the camera strap are designed to hold the camera face down when you're wearing it around your neck. As I mentioned, this is a nice magnesium alloy body here. Sony also makes an NEX-3, which is about $100 less, and it has a plastic body, about the same size. The hand grip is a little bit flatter, though. You see, this is a really nice beefy hand grip, and this is very comfy to hold, so I would suggest, given the metal construction and the ease of holding this, that you go with the NEX-5 if you can afford it. What makes the Sony a bit special compared to some of the interchangeable lens cameras that use a micro four thirds standard, this has the same size sensor as a digital SLR camera, which is an APS-C size sensor. You'll find that in the Nikon D90, the EOS 50D, Sony's own Alpha 550. So you're going to get more image data. The larger the sensor, the better the picture. That's why point-and-shoots are not very good at taking pictures compared to SLRs, because they have teeny sensors. We'll take a look at that sensor now, and we'll switch lenses. This part over here is actually the lens mount on the camera body. It's not part of the lens. To release the lens, like any other SLR camera, you press this little button here, turn, and there's the lens separately. And here's the very large sensor, which again is the same size as your standard SLR sensor. Put the new lens on, you just line up the white dots on the body like an SLR, pretty easy, and rotate it into place. Like so. So now you can see it with the Pancake zoom lens on. A lot smaller. Now these lenses are a bit bigger than the micro four thirds cameras that we've seen from Olympus and Samsung and others, because this is a larger sensor. So you have to have a somewhat wider lens here. Let's do a little size comparison. Compared to a point-and-shoot camera, a nice Lumix camera, 12 megapixel model. Looks a lot more like the point-and-shoot than it does, say, my big and beefy Canon EOS 50D camera. If you want something that's very portable, clearly the little Sony is the way to go compared to this. This weighs about 2.5 pounds with a lens, the Canon. And this, the body weighs, something around 10 ounces, and the lenses are also quite light. Now we're going to take a look at the user interface on the camera. This has a pop-out lens that articulates. Goes in two directions. This is great for waist shooting. So you can tilt that up at you, and you can also bring it 45 degrees the other way. Like so, if you're holding it over your head, say at a concert or in a crowd. So we've got the power button up here. This is your shutter button, and this is the instant movie mode. You can just shoot a movie without switching anything in software. You just hit the button, start recording a movie. This is also a pretty special camera because it can do AVCHD 1080, full 1080 video at 60 fps. You can do lower resolution video as well as you like. Now, much has been made about the user interface on the camera because it's a little bit more geared towards the point-and-shoot crowd, but you know, it's really not that annoying. As an advanced digital shooter myself, who's used to DSLRs, I don't have any problems getting used to this. It is a fully intelligent auto mode that really does a very good job of taking pictures with great detail and a lot of color, or you can set it into scene modes, and we're going to take a look at that right now. Right now I'm in program mode, and you have a virtual dial rather than one up top. This camera body is just too small. In fact, it's too small to have an image stabilizer built into the body, and it's built into the lens instead on the kit zoom lens that we just showed you. There is none on the Pancake lens, but you don't need it as much given how small it is. So we can just choose from many scene modes right here. Anti-shake, panorama mode. This does 3D panoramas as well. Everything you'd expect to see on a hardware dial up top. So we're going to choose Aperture Priority right now. You can see the information on the screen. We're going to put a subject in front of it to make this a little bit more interesting. So here we are in Aperture Priority mode, and we've got our subject ahead of us. And if you want to change the aperture, you just simply turn this dial before you shoot. And it shows you the corresponding change in shutter speed that's going to affect. That's pretty direct. It's not really hard. It doesn't take a lot of presses. And you can imagine that shutter priority works the same way, only you're changing the shutter speed, and the aperture will automatically adjust. If you go to the menu here, you can see now this is, again, much more like a point-and-shoot menu at first, but it's also very easy to use. Here's the shoot mode screen that we saw before. Here you have your virtual dial. Here we have camera settings. You can choose your drive mode. Auto and manual focus. Autofocus area, it's got multi-point, center, and spot metering, and the like. You've got your context-sensitive buttons here. This one's often assigned to shooting tips. If you turn off shooting tips, it becomes more useful. Choosing your image size, you can shoot RAW, JPEG, and both RAW and JPEG files. Brightness and color has exposure compensation, ISO, white balance, all those kind of things. Playback, and in your setup menu, many other settings, including showing histogram, manual focus, and the like. So not that bad a user interface, really. And if you're really moving up from a point and shoot, and this is your first SLR-like camera, you'll probably love it because it's not a heck of a lot of scary buttons here. You've got your intelligent auto mode that does a great job, and a pretty intuitive listing of kinds of settings on the screen. And there are four-way rocker buttons here, so you can immediately control the flash, focus style, bring up a more detailed or less detailed display, and change your EV. One thing that's important on a camera that does not have direct through-the-lens viewing with the regular viewfinder is this panel back here. This is a 3-inch display, and it's 921,000 dots. That's about 3 times the resolution of the Olympus PEN 1 and PEN 2 cameras. So that means that you can really see if you're doing manual focus. For example, if you're going to use the Sony standard alpha lens instead of the E-mount lenses that this uses with an adapter, everything's going to work except for focus. You're going to have to manual focus, so it's important to be able to see. It also has very deep blacks, and it's very easy to see outdoors. It has an outdoor viewable mode, which you only want to turn on when you're outdoors because it can suck battery life. Speaking of battery life, this guy is good for about 330 shots on a charge, which isn't bad. Your battery and your card slots are here in a combined door, typical of other cameras. There's your battery, and you can put in SD, SDHC cards, and memory stick duo cards. The Pancake lens is a 16mm, as we mentioned. That's equivalent to about a 24mm and 35mm film shooting, and The zoom lens is an 18 to 55, which is equivalent to 27 to 84. We're just going to talk a little bit about the image quality, which is really excellent on this camera. The large sensor really sets it apart from the micro four thirds crowd. The resolution on this with a good lens really approaches my Canon EOS 50D. In terms of detail that you can get on a landscape shot, for example, it's impressive. The standard lenses do show some chromatic aberration, the kit lenses that come with this, which you'd expect from kit lenses. They're pretty sharp at the center as long as you're in the middle of the f-stop range. They're not bad kit lenses, actually. And colors are absolutely fantastic. Low light mode, particularly since it's a direct view camera, it's fantastic. You can shoot twilight to night shots and you'll get amazing colors and quite a lot of detail. And this has a lot of automated features too, like HDR mode, where it can shoot 3 exposures simultaneously to get the best amount of detail in contrasty areas. In our full review of the Sony NEX-5, we're going to include plenty of sample images and a lot more information about the specs of the camera and details about the lenses. Visit Mobile Tech Review to read our full review.